Recently, a student of mine told me that he'd been on Duolingo for over 600 days with an average of 45 minutes per day, but that he was still struggling to have a conversation in Russian. Now, if you were to ask me, I consider that a huge waste of time. So in this video, I want to show you what I think, why Duolingo doesn't work and the things that you should be doing instead. But also because I want a little bit more nuance on the internet, I'm going to explain to you the things that Duolingo is actually useful for. So the main thing why Duolingo doesn't work is because it just teaches you new words and phrases. And especially since Duolingo Russian is not the most popular language. So Duolingo Russian isn't that developed as Duolingo Spanish, for example. So you relatively quickly get to the point where you're just repeating words and phrases that you've already learned. So to be honest, Duolingo is fine if you just want to get a quick understanding of the language and you want to learn some words and phrases. You want to understand, is Russian for me? So if you're a complete beginner and you want to learn like some simple things, you want to understand, do I actually want to learn Russian before you spend any money on good courses or tutors? Then why not? Sure, take Duolingo. One of its strengths is actually that it gets you to practice something every single day. And I'm a big fan of consistency. The main issue is that Duolingo gets you to believe that you're actually progressing and learning a lot of things, even though, unfortunately, you're not practicing speaking, which is the main issue of Duolingo. Because if you it's going to sound obvious, but if you want to become good at having conversations, you need to practice speaking, because speaking is what conversations are being made up of. Duolingo is just not helping you to practice speaking, because if you want to practice speaking, there's a couple of things that you can or have to do, I'd say. And I'm going to argue here that Duolingo can actually be a very bad, detrimental thing for your Russian, because with this student of mine, like, he was exceptional, because if I would have spent 600 days doing something for over half an hour a day and I would not get the results that I want, it's almost 2 years, I would not get the results that I wanted, I'd be like, why am I doing this? And I would probably quit. And this is an issue that I see with lots of people that are using Duolingo, is that, like, I spend so much time and effort. So it's not that they're lacking motivation. It's not that they're lacking effort. It's just that they're spending so much time on the wrong methodology, which then does not get them results. And they're like, you know what? Russian is super difficult. I'm not going to continue learning this. Whereas if you take another approach that is more focused on speaking, then you're going to see that you're going to get results so much faster. And then you get this flywheel where you practice, you focus on speaking, then you can actually say something, then you get a good reaction from a native speaker, and then you're like, wow, this is actually working. And then you feel motivated, so you practice speaking more, and then this is it just keeps on continuing. And I think this is one of the reasons why my Russian is not bad, because in the beginning I was saying interesting things. Because in the beginning, I was focusing on speaking. And I remember, for example, there was one lesson in a course that I was learning. It was about the word сам, which is like yourself. Я сам это сделал. I did it myself. And the lesson was about, they just gave an example of the word самодельный самолет, which means like самодельный is kind of like an adjective that he made from сам делать, made yourself, самолет, сам летает, airplane. So it flies itself is the literal translation of airplane. It flies itself. So the thing was like self-made, self-flying thing was like a do-it-yourself airplane. All right, that's a long explanation. But I told this to my ex at a certain point, and we were walking somewhere. And I'm like, oh, самодельный самолет, when I pointed at an airplane flying by. And she's shocked. She's laughing. She's like, where did you learn that? So if you learn things like that, and if you just practice speaking, you're going to get a good reaction, which will then cause you to want to speak more. So that is the main reason. So you got to practice speaking in some way. And I recommend you do that. Either get a good tutor, practice speaking with friends, family, or just random people you might meet somewhere that speak Russian, or get a good course that focuses on speaking, like my course, Russian Conversations Unlocked. Hope you found this video useful, and see you in the next one.